So you've got a Jeep, and that pesky check engine light just popped on, showing you a P219A code. Well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to crack this code together and figure out precisely what your Jeep is trying to tell you. Let's dive in. Ah, there it is, that glowing little light on the dash that just has a way of turning a good day, well, a little more stressful. You know something's not quite right. But what is it? So you did the smart thing. You got a code scanner. And it spits out this, P219A. Okay, I get it. That looks technical, maybe even a little intimidating, but don't you worry. We are going to break down exactly what's behind that code and what's really going on under your hood. All right, so let's talk about that P219A code. What is your Jeep actually trying to communicate with that specific jumble of letters and numbers? Let's get right to the heart of it. So what does P219A really mean? In short, it's pointing to an air-to-fuel ratio imbalance. Think of it like a recipe for your engine. It's just not getting the right mix of air and gasoline to run properly. And the reason for that is because the computer has detected a problem with the fuel pressure. It's either too high or too low, and that's setting off the alarm. Now, this is a big deal because that wrong mixture can lead to bad gas mileage, a rough idle, and just a lack of power when you hit the gas. And, this isn't just some random, obscure issue. This code is actually pretty common in some of Jeep's most popular models out there. So if you're behind the wheel of a Grand Cherokee, a Liberty, or a Wrangler, this is definitely something you'll want to pay close attention to. Okay, so we know what the problem is. It's a fuel pressure issue that's messing up your engine's performance. But the next big question is, why is it happening? It's time to line up the usual suspects. You see, the P219A code is kind of like a great clue in a mystery. It tells us which room the crime happened in, the fuel system, but it doesn't point a finger at a single perpetrator. There are actually several different parts that could be the root cause of the problem. And this is where it gets a little tricky because there's a whole list of potential culprits. It could be a faulty sensor that's just feeding the computer bad information, or maybe you've got a fuel injector that's stuck open or clogged up. It could even be a bigger component like the fuel pump itself, a simple clogged filter, or something called the fuel rail pressure control solenoid, which is basically a little gatekeeper for your fuel pressure. This is why just guessing and throwing parts of the problem can get really expensive really fast. So if we can't just guess, how do you actually find the real culprit? Well, a good mechanic won't start swapping parts randomly. They're going to follow a methodical process to pinpoint the exact cause. It's all about a process of elimination. You start with the easiest things to check, which are the sensors. Using a tool called a digital multimeter, a technician can see if they're sending the right electrical signals. If all the electronics look good, then you move on to the physical parts. You inspect the injectors and filters for any clogs or blockages. And from there, you check the bigger components like the fuel pump and that control solenoid. Each step gets you closer and closer until you've cornered the one faulty part. Once all that detective work is finished and the bad part has been identified, we can finally get to the solution. And here's the good news. The fix itself is very, very straightforward. The guidance here is really clear. Once you find that defective component, this isn't a situation for a quick patch-up job. These are precision parts we're talking about. And to really solve the P219A code for good and get your Jeep running right, that faulty part needs to be replaced. So if there is one single thing to take away from all of this, let it be this. That P219A code, it might seem complicated, but it is absolutely a fixable problem. The real key, the thing that will save you time, money, and a whole lot of headache, is getting a proper diagnosis first. Don't let anyone just start guessing. Find the real culprit. So there you have it. You know what that code means. You know the lineup of potential suspects, and you know the right way to investigate the problem. Now that you're armed with all this knowledge, the only question left is, what's the right next step for your Jeep?